walk-on to spin-moving Georgia for a touchdown in the Peach Bowl? Like, just how kind of crazy that is?
Yeah, definitely have had a chance to think about it. It's definitely crazy. I was kind of talking to Marv leading up into that moment, and just we were kind of recapping in Georgia. We were like we would have given anything last year to even play in the CPF, and going into that game, I had a decent feel for how Coach Hart were going to use me, and I was just extremely grateful, and kind of was able to kind of see that full circle, and kind of remove myself from the present, and like I said, just really be grateful for the fact that as a walk-on, starting as a walk-on, going through all the hardships that I kind of talked about last year. I was now in a moment where I was actually going to be like featured or used, and it was going to be something that I could maximize and just have an impact or a role. So
is that one of those moments where you guys put that in? If they do this exact thing, we can get them with this.
Yes.
And then to see it happen, to see it play out in the moment,
you're
just like, oh my gosh, they're actually doing this.
Yeah. So that actually, to be honest, that wasn't. That was something that CJ saw on the field. I'll say it like that. And CJ saw it, and we there was a look that we had practiced against, and we knew that if we got that particular look, like you said, that we were going to execute it in that manner. So there was like a quick conversation me and CJ had on the field, and we just decided that we're gonna take the middle and execute. And CJ threw a great ball. I think it speaks to CJ's cognitive ability to address defenses or whatever that may be. And he threw me a great ball. All I had to do was catch it, and the rest kind of
is a confident guy with your journey, but to see yourself do what you did against Notre Dame, what you did throughout the season, and then to do it against Georgia. How much confidence did that give you going into this offseason, knowing that a bigger role is coming this spring and maybe even into this fall?
Yeah, I would say it definitely allowed me to be confident in a sense, but it also just allowed me to work. I'm a guy who kind of builds confidence off of the work that I put in, and so going into this season and that potential for a growth and role in an offensive role, it just has given me more hunger, allowed me to go back to the basics and really solidify my foundation in order to execute and play at the level that I desire to play at the next year.
Basic question. Why did you decide to come back for an extra year?
It was a lot of conversation, a lot of prayer, a lot of trying to glean information from people who've been there. CJ Saunders was a big person I talked to, and talked to people like Ryan Stamper, people who I've developed relationships with. And have a lot of trust in. I had a lot of conversation with them, and then Coach Day and Coach Hart. They talked to me, and they had laid out a plan that they had for me, and I was very comfortable with the plan that they had set before me, and I just kind of felt like there was some more meat left on the bone. I think that there's still a couple things that I want to do at Ohio State, and I feel like all those things are within reach, and so coming back was kind of, I think, was the best choice for me, and I think that I can really help this team this year.
What is the plan?
The plan is simply to continue to enhance, enhance me as a player, enhance me as a leader, enhance me as whatever that may be, and I just feel like through a lot of prayer, I felt like there was still some maturation that needed to happen in me personally. Spiritually, all that, and I think that the decision to come back has allowed me to mature, and on the field, off the field, a lot of things. But kind of going back to what he said, like it's also allowed me to have some more confidence, and build that confidence out.
Did you ever imagine his path for you when you came here as a
walk-on? I feel like I've kind of talked about this before, but so when I came as a walk-on, of course. I had high hopes for myself. I had really high hopes for myself, and I thought that I was going to come here and take the world by storm, and that was my goal, to take the world by storm. But when it didn't happen, it did get bleak for a minute, and so I kind of lost that, the same desire for a second. But I was blessed enough, for have great people in my life, have a strong foundation in my faith, and a lot of my prayer led me to the fact that I was just going to keep hitting that rock, and so I think finally when I came out on the back end, I wasn't necessarily surprised, but I was definitely grateful, and I was able to do it in a way in which I had the Lord as my I guess the thing that gets the glory in the end instead of myself.
There's a lot of people that don't care to hear about it, but there's also a lot of people who want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
You lose CJ, you lose Cam, two guys who seem like kind of the spiritual leaders of the team. You picking up that? You take it? You carrying that now, or is that, how does that work in the locker room for you?
I definitely think, they're two great men of God, and they're two men who are vocal. They're very charismatic, very outgoing, and they did lead in a great way. And so I do think that is a role, it's a position that I desired to fill. But I feel like it's something that has to be natural, has to be, it can't be forced. So, stepping into that role, I desire to do it in a way in which, like I said, it's not me who's now the spiritual leader, but it's, God getting the glory and using me type of thing. So I think that it's just going to have to be me, allowing myself to go lower, and allowing Jesus to be exalted. And in that way, if the Lord sees fit, then I'll step into that role.
Not sure how to transition off of that, but you lined up in the backfield at times last year. Some of the stuff that maybe we all thought that Jackson would be doing throughout the year. Do you see that role expanding? And a wide receiver playing running back or a running back playing running back? You don't really know what you really are. But you lining up in the backfield, somebody like you lining up in the backfield. Do you think that's something that you guys can really tap into in this offense?
I think that Coach Hart and Coach Day together, they're the most genius offensive minds that we can have. I think we have a great infrastructure. They have a phenomenal understanding of how defenses work and how they're moving and how to attack them. And so I think that Coach Hart and Coach Day, if they see it fit, I think that is something that could potentially be done. But I think that's completely in their ball court. I'm gonna come out here and do what they ask me. Can try to continue into their hands. Going back and recapping with Coach Hart, and from there, I think that we'll see exactly how it transpires.
I mean, you've been here as long as those guys have. Why not draw some stuff under the dirt? I got something for you.
Yeah, I always joke about having a couple, suggestions, but like I said, they're far more esteemed, far more accredited than I could ever be. So I'm just trying to learn as much as I can and be a sponge.
What do you think Coach Hart brings to the equation as OC?
I think that he brings kind of just a fresh set of eyes. Like take you back to like high school or something. You're writing a paper, and you feel like it's the best paper you've ever written. You turn it in, and it's like there's grammatical mistakes all throughout it, and it's like, dang, what happened? Like, how did I miss that? Like, and there's like blatant grammatical, errors. I think that's kind of Coach Hart. Like, but if you would have had somebody else come and read the paper, they may have seen it. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of what Coach Hart can bring to the table. He has a fresh set of eyes. He's he's very offensive savvy, and he kind of brings a different dynamic than Coach Day. Just from the standpoint of he's new to the role. Exactly. So I think that like just that in general will be beneficial. I think that Coach Hart has a great wholesale understanding of the game. He played it at a high level in college, high school, obviously, in the NFL. So passing game, different things like that. He just he can grasp it, and he has a great grasp on it. Not saying that Coach Day doesn't, but like I said, he kind of can add that player aspect as well, which will help us, I think.
Back to the leadership stuff you're talking
Hey,
about
folks,
earlier.
we have Reed Carrico on the 30.
Why does that matter so much in your team, and how do you feel like that could be a huge thing for you to do?
Yeah, so last year, I think that we had one of the closer teams that we had. It was one of the closer teams that I've been a part of, and I think that anything that you do, anything that you accomplish, any goals that you have, they have to start with the head coach, but everybody has to buy in. If people don't buy into it, or they're trying to preach something different from what the head coach is saying, then you don't have cohesion. You don't have, the close knitness, and there's like a kind of a revolt mindset within the players. So I think that the pivotal thing with leadership is in order to be on one page and in order to move in a synchronized manner, you have to first believe what the coach is saying, but two, try to live that out. And so I think that was a big first thing. And so we had some great leaders leave, and there's roles that need to be filled. There's people like CJ that we got to replace. People like Cam, who, he was probably one of the better leaders I've ever been around, if not the best. And he led in a way that it was unconventional. It wasn't necessarily what he wanted to do, but I think that's what made him so great and so different of a leader. So I just think that the need for that is there. It needs to be filled, and we have to fill it in order to be a great team.
You want to be one of the guys who's willing to help you fill that.
100%. I think that I've been here. I've been blessed to have an experience that I can speak in different lights to different people. I think that I have been through enough and seen enough football that I can coach up. And I think that's kind of that's a step that I can take and coming back for my 6th year. And so I think that that's something that the Lord has for me. And so just that boldness and that ability to speak out and call out, not out of trying to tear somebody down, but trying to call somebody higher. And so out of love, that's the main thing.
Xavier, could you kind of give your impressions of Devin and Kyle as quarterbacks?
I think that they're both very talented guys. I mean, they were highly touted coming out of high school, highly sought after. I think that both of them have, a chip on their shoulder, trying to become that guy. And that's not anything against each other. There's no bad blood. Like, you always see them together. You always see them laughing, smiling together. But that's just something that's why we come to Ohio State. And it's the hard part about being at Ohio State, because there's the brotherhood that, is tight-knitness, and we love each other, and we go through a lot with each other. We bleed, sweat with each other. But at the end of the day, you're in the most competitive environment in the world, and most competitive environment in the country, playing at the highest level you can in college football. So I think that both of them have definitely the it factor is kind of just going to be, who can, I don't want to say that. It'll just be who can, I would say, sustain for longer.
How are they different? Just personality, quarterback style, whatever.
I think personality-wise, they're really similar. Personality-wise, they both, they're around each other a lot, and when you're around each other a lot, you pick up on some mannerisms and different things like that. So I wouldn't say personality-wise they're not too much different. I think that on the field they're both learning their way, and that's something that comes from not being, the guy for the first couple of years. You got to learn, you got to be cultivated, you got to do a whole bunch of things, and you can't try to emulate the guy that came before you, or you'll lose yourself. And that's, they got here being themselves. So I think that identity on the field is still being developed, is being enhanced. And I think that, we're in for a great battle. And we'll see who comes out on top.
Can I get a Reese Stocksdale scouting breakdown from you?
Yeah, so Reese my guy. He's shoot. If you ever came back at night and you saw me and Marvin here, he's here with us. He's probably the person who set it up. And he's a hard worker. He's very fast, very explosive. All of that. He just, he's one of those guys who he comes to work every day. And so I would say scouting report wise, I think that he desires to get better. He's the hardest critic on himself. But I think that he has, at the end of the day, he has all the makeup and the fortitude and everything to be a great player. I think that it's just now the maturation process, which, is different with everybody. And so I think that he definitely could be a great player. I think he's going to be a great player. Like I said, he has all the intangibles, run, jump, do anything you could ask for. I think right now it's just, allowing that to translate to the field, which takes time.
I don't remember if it was last spring or last August, but asking Heartline, who are the guys you'd be comfortable putting on the field right now? I think it's maybe 6 guys, and you were one of them. What does it take? And then we saw what happened. What does it take to gain the trust of Brian Hartline? That's I'm ready to play that guy whenever we need him.
Yeah. So honestly, that was something that it built over time. For me personally, we have a saying around here that, you know, trust is quickly or hard to gain but easy to lose. So, you know, it's the idea that every day you have to show up being the same person. Every day, you know, mistakes aren't okay, and they aren't something that we kind of just sweep under the rug. Like, you gotta, they happen, of course, but there's the idea that there's a level and a standard that you have to meet before you can even be considered one of those guys that he can trust. And so I think that, you know, in order to do that, like I said, you have to be consistent. There's a playmaking aspect to it, but it's not necessarily going out there and making the craziest plays over and over again, but it's making that the simple plays, the routine plays, what we call, making those routine plays actually routine. Yep. And if you're able to do that, I think that you have a good step in the first direction. And then the more you make the routine plays routine, like everybody at Ohio State, like we always talk about, is they're elite. You know, they were the best of the best at their high school. They were the best of the best in their state. You know, all of that. But I think that the biggest hump to get over coming from college or from high school to college is the cognitive piece. But once you get over that cognitive piece, you start playing your game, then it all kind of starts to unfold. But like I said, I think that starts with making the routine plays routine. And then what Coach Hart always says is, once you make the routine plays routine, now the extraordinary plays should be, if they can become routine, then you're elite and you're, you know, the person who everybody saw, or, you know, like Marvin. You know what I mean? Like, so you see him make a whole bunch of routine or extraordinary plays, but they look routine, and that's when you become like different. That's how you separate yourself.
About him, I mean, he was phenomenal last year. Have you seen him just in the 2 or 3 months since the end of last season? You've seen him take another jump?
I would say the thing I'm most proud of him, and I just talked to him about it, the thing I'm most proud of him about is the fact that he's taking a step and a leap as a leader, and he's now vocal. He's now, you know, trying to bring young guys along, and not saying that it wasn't that way before. However, there's a more intentionality in it now, and I think that's just going to allow him to grow. You know, they say that you don't know anything until you don't know it. I guess the best way to know something is to be able to teach it, if that makes sense. And so I think that him, you know, being able to verbalize exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it, not that he wasn't last year, but him able to do that and bring people along, I think that's only going to enhance his game. And so I think that you see a hunger in him, you see the desire to be the best ever, and I think that he's on the right track.
Does he, I mean, you're a talented guy, you're around talented guys all the time. Are there things he does that make you go,
Yeah, 100%. And I think that just being around, you know, talented men like himself, and all that, like, it sets a standard at a level that everybody desires to reach. And, you know, that is now, you know, the standard of the room. And so seeing him do things, it's like, wow, how did he just do that? I can go pick his brain, and, you know, and now I can try to implement those into my game. Might not look exactly like the way he did it, but, you know.
what's the craziest thing you've seen him do?
Craziest thing I've seen Marv do. Yeah, I think it's gotten to a point where, like I said, the crazy things are kind of routine now. So, like, you see him catch, like we'll be catching jugs or something, and it'll be like a dig, and the ball's coming 50 miles an hour, and he, like, just catches it, and it keeps running and keeps it moving or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I think that some of the crazier things I've seen him do, honestly, are like on the basketball court or something. Because he's very explosive, and he jumps really high and different things like that. So, yeah.
Someone told me that.
What do you think?
Thanks,
Of course.
What you did last year,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think that does for someone like Reese or someone else coming through next who maybe wonders, I don't know if I'm ever going to make it here. I don't know if I'm good enough.
Yeah.
What do you think it does for guys like that to see what you did?
Well, I hope it gives them hope. I hope it gives them the idea that, you know, there's always a chance, and it really just starts with hard work, and I would say finish it with determination. You know, I feel like I would say just with myself, like there were even times last year, like even after I made the plays, like even after I guess Notre Dame, like there were still times where I kind of felt that I wasn't good enough, and that's kind of been something that has perpetuated throughout my whole life, and I just really like even beyond football, to little kids or whoever that may be, like just the idea that I guess it's not always how you perceive yourself. But there's a way to push through a lot of self-doubt, a lot of shame or whatever that may be, and for me it was finding who I was in Christ, and allow my identity to be set in that, and ever since then it has everything has unfolded in the way it has, but it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was me or my strength. I would say it was just my ability to trust in Christ. But, for that, I want, Lord to get the glory, but also to give people hope, in the fact that your circumstances, aren't, even though they're the hands you were dealt, they're not what you got to stay with. And I feel like that was something that I learned from the Lord throughout my entire journey. There's hardening, there's toughening, there's equipping that happens in those hard times, that if you're willing to stay in it, the sky's the limit. So
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do with your life?
I desire to play at the next level if the Lord has that for me, but at the end of the day I want to be in a position, I would say, like when it's all said and done, I want to be in a position where I can help people, and one of my big desires is to pour back into the youth, to allow them to know that they, there's worth in different situations, whether that be inner city, and they're missing their father or whatever, or even the youth that have two parents at home but just don't feel worth in themselves. Like I want to be able to esteem worth to young men, young women, because I know how much I struggle with it, even being an athlete, a standout athlete. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just want to be extremely philanthropic, and I pray that, and I think that the Lord has it for me that early on in my life I'll be pretty affluent, in order to later on be able to pour back into people. So that's really all I desire to do, is pour back into the youth and anybody who needs it.
What's your scholarship situation? You're on scholarship?
Yeah, I'm on scholarship now.
When did you get on scholarship?
I got on scholarship whenever we played Oregon, in 2021, I believe that was my senior year or junior year, whatever. Yeah. So.
Because I'll tell you, I've been doing this since 05, and I'm skeptical of walk-ons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love the stories, but it's like, what's the football part of it, right? Sometimes
Right.
I think,
Right. Yeah.
and like, you've changed my mind.
Yeah, I appreciate. Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
Like, when Heartline was saying this stuff last year, I'll be honest, I was like, it's great, I'm sure you're a great guy, but the football, right? Football matters.
Right. 100%.
Is it ever going to happen? And then
Yeah.
it's like Notre Dame game, and I was like, I'm wrong. And I'm going to try to look. I don't know. Since 05, I don't know. Who might be the best walk-on?
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I do.
I think you're one of the 10 best football players on this team.
I appreciate that.
And I can't
I really
believe
do.
that you're as good of a receiver as you are, and you're as good of a running back as you are. And you're as good on special teams. We talked about it on a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
You made the tackle on special teams.
Yeah.
Whenever that was. And I was like, what is happening?
Notre Dame game.
How did one guy do this? This doesn't make any
Those
sense.
are like
Yeah.
the two biggest plays of that game. He's just like,
Right.
Let's see Marv go make a tackle on special teams. It's not Marv.
Yeah.
Let's see him run down on kick coverage.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I've kind of talked about this before, but I think that one, Coach Hart, Coach Day knew what they were doing, but also the Lord, he knew what he was doing by allowing me to be in these situations that were adverse, that were hard, that were tough. And I think that they all maturated me and molded me into the player I am now, where I can wear many hats and it doesn't scare me. It doesn't, I don't flinch anymore. I will say at one point in my career there was times where they were trying to or not necessarily trying to, but there was the need that was needed to be felt or filled, like whether there was a depth issue or at running back or receiver. You know what I mean? There was just a couple different times where the opportunity was presented to play both roles, and I wasn't able to do so. And cognitively, it was a lot, and I just wasn't able to do so. I think, like I said, I think the Lord had a bigger plan, better plan than I can even, have built myself. And that's kind of my favorite Bible verse. It's Habakkuk 1:5, and it says, "Look and be amazed, for I'm doing something in your own day that you wouldn't believe even if someone told you." And that was something that when I first really surrendered to Christ, it was something that I used to really think about and really chew on, but kind of understanding what that really means in true time, like being able to remove myself and appreciate everything I've been through. I feel like that's something that I've been blessed to do, is understand, how I'm being matured and how I'm being hardened even while it's going on.
You're talking about this growth, right? The maybe doubting yourself at times and coming through. Was that here at Ohio State?
Yeah.
Are you still feeling that?
Yeah, 100%.
Wondered what your path was supposed to be?
100%.
Can I do this?
I would tell you this, from the first day I stepped on campus, and I wasn't necessarily receiving the same praise that I was receiving in high school, the same adoration that I was receiving in high school. From the very first day I stepped on campus, it was like, did I make the wrong mistake? And like I said, I prayed into that, even in high school, praying into that, and I felt like the Lord let me hear. So there was some opposition, there was some pushback, but as early as my first couple practices, I had to pray and ask the Lord, like, if I'm supposed to be here, like, please give me a sign, like, allow me to understand that I'm supposed to be here. And so that happened from the first time I really started practicing, and kind of perpetuated throughout, my career. There were times where I wanted to hang up the cleats, times where I wanted to transfer. But like I said, I just never felt the Lord calling me to leave. And I know that He had a greater purpose now, of course, after having gone through it.
What was that sign that you got that made you keep going with it?
There was a couple signs, because there was a lot of prayers where I was asking, like, Lord, help me, like, I need something. And one of them was actually Coach Meyer. It was the first time I had spoken to Coach Meyer. He acknowledged me. Like, I went to bat. We were practicing in indoor, warming up in the indoor. Ran outside to use the restroom, and I was like, literally, like, almost in tears. Like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, I don't feel like I fit in. Like, I don't feel good enough to even be amongst these players. And I was like, Lord, I need a sign. Like, and sometimes He works like that, sometimes He doesn't. And this time he worked like that. And as soon as I came back in from the bathroom, it's the first time me and Coach Meyer spoke, and he was like, you're a good player. I don't even know what number I was on at that time. I think it was 49. He was like, you're a good player, 49. Like, you can play here one day. And just that right there was like quick, like, okay, Lord, like, I know I'm in the right spot. And so, yeah, I think that was one side. It actually happened in the exact same way a couple weeks later. And kind of just throughout the rest of the time, it was more me leaning on my prayer and my understanding of who He was and where He's called me to be. But like I said, I never felt the sign to leave. So it was always, stay and just be hardened and allow Him to do what He does.
That little bit of hope is all you needed. That one little
That's
moment.
it.
I mean, he didn't call your name. He
Right.
calls you your number.
Right, yeah.
You're a walk-on.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be here.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
So those small moments, those small things you can hold on that keep you getting through all that.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the times, maybe not even necessarily a lot of time, but I think that sometimes we give up because we can't appreciate, what's going on in the moment, and we can't, we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's like, okay, I'm just gonna get off on the exit ramp. But if you just stay on that tunnel, if you stay in that hardening, if you stay in that christening, there's something that, like I said, at the end of it, that the Lord can have for you. There's something at the end of it that somebody who is sitting outside of your situation can have the foresight to see. And so I was just blessed enough to be humble enough and allow me to be, basically torn down to my foundation in order to be, I would say, built up in the way that I was this past year. So,
How do you feel like your role can expand this year?
I think that it can expand in a lot of ways. I think first I kind of mentioned it, leadership-wise, I desire to, be one of those dudes who, you can look to in a hard game. Like we always talk about, like in the locker room, if stuff's not going right, like who's going to bring the guys together and rally them. I think we had great people in the past. I've been here for a while, so Jordan Fuller, Jonathan Cooper, Justin was a good leader. C.J. Saunders was an excellent leader. Cam Babb, C.J. Stroud. Like I've been a part of all these guys, and I've been able to to see what they do and try to implement that into the way that I desire to lead. And so I think that's the biggest thing is first kind of just taking that next step, because I've been a leader kind of behind the scenes, but I think that now it's time to lead in a different manner. As I'm an older guy. So I think that's the first way I want my game or my role to expand. And then next, kind of just whatever Coach Hart has for me, especially in a season like now where I'm in the off season. I can just work. I can get as good as I can. I can continue to work on my craft. Try different things, fail at different things, and be okay with it. And continue to go. Like it doesn't matter that I didn't get that right the first time. Like this is now the time to really cultivate my game. And so I think those two growths are the main things I'm focused on right now. Is just getting as good as I can as a football player, as good as I can as a leader. And then, of course, as good as I can as a man of God, and being bold in my faith.
Are you still cross-training in practice, both receiver and running back?
I haven't done any of that so far, but I'm going to completely allow Coach Hart, Coach Data, to have that to date. There's been times where I didn't necessarily trust him, and obviously it worked for my benefit. So I'm going to let them handle that.
Makes sense.
As you know where I want growth? I want growth in X jersey.
So my parents got that. So.
Ohio State jersey. I've seen get some NIL dollars.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That's actually, so there was some thought that went into that when I chose number 10, which I never thought about until like last year. I don't know why, but I'm like, shoot, it's my nickname and my jersey number. It could be both. So I kind of me and my parents made that happen. So thank you.
I got a sort of chance to, I guess, look back on your time here.
Mm-hmm.
And, one more go around.
Mm-hmm.
Just have you had sort of that chance to sort of ground yourself and kind of realize like the end is near and reflect on your time?
Yes, in a way. Like even that was my last one to work out, and when we just finished up, of course. And so I was like, dang, that's my last run to workout ever. Like I can't even come back if I want to. Like it's done. Like so, I think from that standpoint, I've started to reflect a little bit. But I really try to live in the moment. I really try to, give each day my all. Because I think that, if you're looking too far in the future, you'll miss, some steps that are right in front of you. So I'll say, to an extent, it has set in. But I love this team. I love being on this team, and so I want to, milk everything I can out of this, and not kind of look into the future too much.
What are some of those day-to-day things that you sort of cherish and take with you to sort of stay grounded and stay warm?
I would say Marv is quickly becoming one of my best friends. Reese is, we were together like 6-7 hours out of the day. Whether that's catching in here in the hot tub or just chilling in the locker room, like. I think that just that brotherhood, that camaraderie, it's second to none. I don't think it can be recreated anywhere. Simply because they're the same people that I am in the workout with, and I try my best and I fail on a rep. They're the same people there, and they're the same people that I go out to eat with. It's a camaraderie that's really second to none. And so I really cherish that. I cherish this, like being a part of a place as accredited, as wonderful as Ohio State, and I just cherish even each moment. One, to get better, but two, to be with this team. So I think that even having some of my class, well, dang near all my class now gone, kind of looking back on that, there was like, I really do cherish and love these guys. I talked to Javante the other day, and he was like, man, I miss y'all boys. Like, this is, like, even, he was like, there's definitely a difference. So I do. My undergrad is in consumer family financial services, and then I'm in master's degree right now in translational data analytics. So it's just the ability to translate data using coding and different interfaces. So it's
That's too smart for me.
it's pretty smart for me too. I'm trying to catch up.
That's pretty good that you could be your 6 years, get free education.
Yes.
I guess not from the beginning.
Right.
How many years you been on scholarship now?
I believe it'll be 3 at the beginning of this year for this rest of this year. Right.
Eat up this table.
Yeah.
You said Marvin's one of your best friends. What's he like behind closed doors?
He's
Same, different?
I would say he's a very kind guy, like a super kind guy. And I think that sometimes, you see him on the field, you see him kind of animated and competitive and everything on the field. But, I think that is out of, just his desire to be great. But he's super kind, super funny. And he's like I said, he's quickly becoming one of my best friends. And I think that he has his own personality. He's himself, and he's gonna be himself. What's the word I'm trying to? Unrepentantly or whatever. Unconditionally. Yeah, exactly. So, that's my guy though. That's my guy.
So you haven't seen fame get to his head at all?
No, he doesn't even like it like that.
His dad's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
I'm sure he grew up not needing any art.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this hunger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it speaks to one, the way his dad raised him, but two, just the character of the individual he is. There's always two types of people in those situations. There's people who, understand that they don't need anything, and so they don't work, and then there's people who work in order to enhance their way of living, or
I don't have one, but yeah, we gave you
even chase the greatness that his father has set. And so he's one of those people who's going to chase it, and he's not scared of it. I think that he welcomes it, and it allows him to have a bigger chip on his shoulder than the number one receiver in the nation anywhere else might have.
There's one quick thing if I can about the younger receivers, the guys you play, freshmen, sophomores. Has any of them kind of really just stood out and said, okay, that guy's making that jump?
Yeah, Carnell Tate. He's definitely been standing out in practice. You see him have that it factor early on. I think, I've been able to see, Garrett Wilson's and Jackson's come through and different things like that. And all of them had, that playmaking ability and that innate, just being a player, like a dude who makes stuff happen. Like they have that in them. And I would say that's something that I've seen at Carnell early on as well.
There's so many types of receivers.
Mm-hmm.
They're all unique.
Yeah.
How would you kind of describe them?
All right, folks.
I would say. I got you. I would say. I would say he has some similarities to Marv, as he's like a route technician. He's a very fixated on his craft, and he wants to be great. So.
Xavier, what are some of y'all's favorite restaurants to go to as a group?
It's always a joke. If Reese picks it, it's gonna be. I just lost it. It's gonna be hibachi. He loves Benihana's. But we go to steakhouses. If Marv picks it, it's gonna be a little bit more high end. If Marv picks it, we'll probably be Ocean Club or Jeff Ruby's or something. But
yeah, Marv's paying for it.
Nah, we don't make him pay. We don't make him pay. Yeah. But yeah, really it just depends on our mood. And so I like to do it because I'll go there first, and then I'll take my girlfriend to the restaurants if I enjoyed it. So. Right, exactly.
Have you kept up with Cam Bab?
We still live together. Yeah, that's my dog. That's my brother. Nothing's gonna separate us. Time, whatever that may be. So yeah, he's transitioning, having a seamless transition because of just the man that he is, the character he has, and the I would say the drive and the never say no, never quit. That was been installed in him through the years of adversity. And so he's been having very much success, making a lot of connections, and he's trying to figure out exactly what he wants to do. But he can do whatever he wants because of who he's been to this university, how he's built himself and his public image. Like, he can do whatever he wants. So it's kind of just choosing whatever he wants.
40 minutes. Let him go. 40 minutes. What's next for you after this year?
If the Lord has it in His will, then I'll be playing in the NFL. But if not, then I think I might do some scouting or something. But like I just told him, at the end of the day, I want to be in a position where I can be extremely philanthropic and bring glory to the Lord. That's about all I have. That's about all I have for you guys.